Before we get into today's challenge, I wanted to talk a little bit about the last challenge I did, Fire Red with only a Diglett. I taught my Diglett Rock Tomb after Brock's gym and kept it for the whole game, thinking it was the only Rock-type move it could learn. While watching Tyon take on the same challenge, I learned that Diglett could learn Rock Slide from a tutor in Rock Tunnel. The reason I missed this was because I don't usually pay attention to move tutors ever. Whether it's a normal playthrough or otherwise, pretty much all the moves I ever learn are via level up and TM. I thought Rock Tomb was the strongest rock move I would be able to learn, which is why I grinded to level 100 for Agatha, since I wouldn't have had the power points to win the fight with Rock Tomb otherwise. Maybe I'll redo the challenge at some point, we'll see. What up, fellas? My name is Matt, and today I'm gonna try and beat Pokemon Red. Oh my god. Hey, Matt from the future here. I don't know how I screwed that up. I'm playing Pokemon Blue in this challenge. Oh man, I cannot write a script to save my life. With only a Porygon. It's a pretty decent Pokemon with a base stat total of 395. Unfortunately, despite being a normal type, Porygon is a special attacker, which means we can't take advantage of the same type attack bonus and its special stat at the same time. By level up, we don't get a whole lot, but we do get some nice status moves in Sharpen and Recover. The only normal type moves we get via level up are Tackle and Tri-Attack. In this generation, Tri-Attack does damage and nothing else. The chance to burn, paralyze, or freeze wasn't introduced until Generation 2. Besides that, we also get Psybeam. Pretty solid. By TM, we also get some pretty good type coverage. Ice, Electric, Psychic moves. This move variety isn't half bad. Before we get started, everybody leave a comment guessing what level I'll need to be to win. Porygon is a much better Pokemon than Diglett, so I can probably do this in the low level 70s. Standard Pokemon challenge rules apply for this run. In battle, the only Pokemon I can use is Porygon. I can catch other Pokemon for HMs, but I can't use anything else I catch in battle. No glitches, exploits, or cheats besides changing my starter, and no items in battle. Only Pokeballs and items between fights are allowed. From now on, I will also be adding a fourth rule. I'll be avoiding the use of universal TMs if possible. In Gen 1, this includes moves like Toxic, Rest, and Double Team. I want to stay away from these if possible, and use the moveset that was specifically designed for the Pokemon I'm using. From now on, I'll only be using universal TMs as a last resort. Also, fun fact, this is actually my first time playing through Gen 1. I've only ever played Fire Red and Leaf Green before, and I've played those a ton. Alright fellas, let's get started. As usual, I replaced Squirtle with Porygon using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer. I named my Porygon Octagon, because why not? I absolutely crushed my rival Elias in the opening rival fight thanks to the move Sharpen. It raises my attack by 1 stage, which powers up my normal type moves, and literally none of my other moves ever. So Sharpen will probably outlive its usefulness as the game progresses, since I'll be relying more on special moves like Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, and Psychic. That's okay. I make it out of the forest, but we're not ready to face Brock yet. Even if I use Conversion to make myself a rock type to resist Tackle, and use Sharpen a bunch of times, Geodude can effectively undo it with Defense Curl. I gotta grind. At level 15, I decide to give Brock a shot. I start by using Conversion to become a rock type so that I resist Geodude's Tackle, like I said before. Then I get in 6 Sharpens. Like I said, Geodude will use Defense Curl a lot, so it won't make a difference for now. But Geodude only does 1 damage per hit to me, so it's just a matter of me not running out of power points. Fortunately, it takes me a lot fewer hits than I thought to win, then it's on to Onyx. Since my attack is up 6 stages by now, I do a lot more damage than I otherwise would have. Almost too much more, in fact. Onyx uses Bide when I'm at 26 health, but it's almost down. I decide to keep using Tackle since I figure I'll either knock it out or not do enough damage to get knocked out by Bide. Keep in mind that Bide has the Pokemon sit around taking hits, then it deals double the damage it takes. Since I'm at 26 health, I can survive a Bide that does up to 24 damage, which means I'll die if I deal more than 12 damage before Onyx unleashes its Bide. I wind up doing exactly 12 damage, wow, voice crack, and winning the fight with only 2 HP left. That was close, but I got the badge, so goodbye Brock, see you never. I make my way through Mount Moon and decide to go straight after Misty. First up is Staryu, so I decide to convert into a water type. I eventually take it down, but not before losing a lot of health in the process. By the time Starmie comes out, I'm at about 1/3 of my health, so I don't stand a chance. I think it's time to grind. I come back at level 23 with a new move, Psybeam. Not very effective against Starmie since it's a psychic type, but this will come in handy later for sure. I decide to stay normal type for this battle for the sake of having the same type attack bonus on Tackle, and I instead use a few Sharpens on Staryu. I end up only taking 29 damage, which could have been a lot less had Staryu not crit me twice. Starmie can't actually hit that hard, so I decide to use a few more Sharpens. I thought I would win this battle, but of course Starmie gets a crit. Sounds about right. Next attempt, Starmie would have knocked me out on the next turn if it went for Water Gun, but it used Tackle instead. Okay then, we take those. Next, I head north to take on Rival 2. Pidgeotto goes down easily in 2 Psybeams, but I get hit with a Sand Attack attack. Abra can only use teleport, so I take the opportunity to build up my sharpens. Then I one-shot the rest of his team, after missing 2 tackles in a row against Rattata. This is fine. Like usual, after every easy fight in my challenge runs, I'll be throwing in a random fun fact. They usually aren't Pokemon related, but did you know that the Japanese name for crits in this game is Pressure Point? I think that's pretty cool. I'd start using that in my videos, but a lot of people would probably be confused when I say stuff like, but then Venusaur pressure pointed me with Razor Leaf and I died. Oh well. Next up is the SS Sand, and on my way through I talk to this girl who says she wants a cherry pie. I'm not the waiter, but I give her a bowl of cereal. Usually I fight all the trainers on the SS Sand, but I figure I'm probably already strong enough to beat the rival at my current level. And I was right. I won by spamming Psybeam on everything except Kadabra, which went down easily with Tackle. You might know that Grover Cleveland served 2 terms as president, but unlike all other presidents of the US who served 2 terms, they weren't back to back. In between Cleveland's 2 terms was won by Benjamin Harrison. What I didn't know until recently was that his wife told White House staff to take care of the place because they'd be back in 4 years. I catch a Bellsprout to teach Cut, and now it's on to Surge's gym. Both switches were in the same garbage can. Fun. I was pleasantly surprised to learn there isn't a trainer right by the locks like there is in the remakes. Voltorb barely does any damage but lands a Screech before I take it out. Probably not good. Next up is Pikachu. Surge starts by using an X-Beat, then uses Thunder Wave to paralyze me, but I knock it out before it lands a hit, and next is Raichu. I lose a few turns to paralysis, but I wasn't at very much of a risk of losing there, so that's our 3rd badge. In 1997, Alex Trebek and Pat Sajak swapped roles for the April Fool's Day episodes of their respective shows. Sajak hosted a regular episode of Jeopardy, and Trebek hosted a game of Wheel of Fortune, where Sajak and hosted Savannah White competed to earn money for charity. Surge gives me the TM for Thunderbolt. I replaced Tackle since it won't see a lot of use, especially since I don't have Sharpen anymore either. The other moves I want to get are Psychic and Ice Beam, but considering Thunderbolt will be super effective against flying types, and Psychic moves will be super effective against most grass types, since most of them are also poison type, I'm not sure if I'll wind up using it often. Conversion is an awesome move because a lot of types resist themselves. Like for example, a fire type Pokemon will resist fire type moves. So it'll probably come in handy a lot, especially since I won't be using the same type attack bonus from now on, and having Recover to heal is awesome as well. We're probably pretty close to our final moveset already. Early on in my trek through Rock Tunnel, I get poisoned and I don't have any antidotes. The genius I am decided it would be fun to try and get through the rest of the tunnel without going back to the Pokemon Center, since I can heal with Recover. But then I ran out of power points on Psybeam, so I couldn't hit all the ground types the trainers in this cave have. So much for that little challenge. Oh well, now that we've reached Lavender Town, it's time for Rival 4. Everyone goes down in one Thunderbolt, aside from Ivysaur, who survived a Psychic with a Sliver, but it just used Growl. If you take apart a Rubik's Cube and put in all the pieces at random, the chances of it being solvable with normal turns is only 1 in 12. In order to fix the unsolvable positions, you have to do some combination of swapping 2 pieces, or flipping or twisting one in place. Subscribe to Me Plays Cubing, link in the description. This middle part of the game has always been my favorite, because I love how much it opens up compared to other generations. The newer games are pretty strictly linear throughout, but in Kanto, once you make it out of Rock Tunnel, you can go after the next 4 gyms in any order you want, which is especially great for challenge runs, because if one gym specializes in a type you're bad against, you can do another gym and return at a higher level. Recently, Elias and I did a Slowpoke solo run together, but unfortunately we wound up deciding not to make that into a video, but our 5th badge was from Blaine's gym, since we struggled with Erica in Rival 5, the latter of which is required to access Sabrina's gym. So the last little bit of the game was kind of a boss rush, since we did Blaine, Rival 5, Sabrina, Erica, and Giovanni in very quick succession. Between the pacing and linear nature of the newer games, that's not something that's possible anymore, which is part of the reason I like playing the earlier generation so much. Actually, come to think of it, the middle of the game is the highlight of most Pokemon games in my opinion. In the older games, it's where the world opens up the most, and in the newer games, namely Sword and Shield, I don't feel like ripping my hair out because the pacing isn't excruciatingly slow. Sword and Shield are still good games, don't get me wrong, but I find them less fun to replay because of how slow the beginning and ending of the game are. I'll probably make a video about the game's pacing problem at some point, but let's get back to talking about Porygon. You know, I really shouldn't be recording my script this early in the morning. I sound like a bass in a really mediocre a cappella group at best. I head to the Celadon department store for a little miniature shopping spree. I head to the roof and buy 2 fresh waters. One to give to the guard, since this is how you unlock Saffron City in this game instead of getting tea from the old woman in the condominium, and another to give to this girl who gives me the TM for Ice Beam in exchange. In the remakes, you have to buy this at the Rocket Game Corner using coins. coins, so it's a welcome surprise to find out this is how you get it. Not having to gamble for Thunderbolt was also really nice, since that was the reward we got for beating Surge. Anyway, there's a lot I have to do in this town, and first up is the Rocket Hideout. While I make it through, I wanted to talk a little bit about how enjoyable it's been to play Gen 1 for the first time. As easy as it is to give Gen 1 flack for being the most broken games in the series, which is probably true, there's a lot of things I like about it compared to the other games. Not having to gamble for the Ice Beam and Thunderbolt TMs is awesome. Disable isn't as problematic since it disables a random move instead of the last one you used. Rock Tunnel is easier to get through without Flash. There's a lot of really nice stuff here, especially for solo runs. There's a few things I'm not crazy about though. For one, you can't just press A near a cuttable tree to use the HM. You actually have to select the Pokemon that knows cut from the Pokemon menu and then you use it. The limited bag space is going to be a little bit annoying to deal with moving forward as well. And obviously the 1 in 256 glitch is pretty bad, but I think Gen 1's glitches, bugs, and moves that work differently make it really fun to play through. Even though it's the same region with largely the same gameplay, there's a lot of stuff that's different compared to the Gen 3 and 7 remakes that make it really enjoyable to play. Anyway, at the end of the Rocket Hideout is Giovanni, of course, but honestly 9 times out of 10 his Pokemon would die if you breathed on them funny, and this one was no different. Onyx and Rhyhorn go down in one Psybeam each, and Kangaskhan survives a hit, but uses Rage of all moves so it goes down easily. Bowed string instruments like the violin and cello have F holes on either side of the instrument. The letter F in its name doesn't actually correspond to the note F, but rather its shape. Check it out. I head into the Erica fight, but I'm not at full health because I didn't bother to run back to the Pokemon Center, and I figure I won't need that health anyway. First up is Victory Bell, and I take the opportunity to convert into a grass and poison type Pokemon, which winds up paying off very handsomely. Despite misclicking and using it again after being freed from Warp, yeah, that's supposed to say rap. Victory Bell just used Poison Powder 3 turns in a row. Since I'm a Poison type now, it doesn't do anything and I take it out easily. Next is Tangela, which does a whopping 2 damage to me. Vileplume survives the Psybeam, but makes the same mistake as Victory Bell, trying to poison me after I've converted into a Poison type. I don't know if this is a quirk that's specific to Gen 1 AI, but my guess is that Vileplume and Victory Bell were just looking at the fact that Porygon is a normal type Pokemon, and not that it had used conversion. Ricky Henderson is a baseball player who holds the record for stealing the most bases in his career. He played 4 seasons with the New York Yankees. He bought an apartment in the city and told his teammates he could see the entire state building from it. Marvelous. Like I said, there's a lot of options for what to do next in this part of the game. I think the most logical thing to do would be to take out as many trainers as possible in Pokemon Tower and Silphco, then take on the next 3 gyms. I don't have any sort of type advantage over Sabrina or Blaine, but Koga should be pretty easy since I have Psychic. Poison, Fire, and Psychic all resist themselves, so they could all be good battles to use Conversion. As cool as Conversion is, I don't know if I can afford to keep it on my moveset. Ice Beam is going to be good against Giovanni, Bruno, and Lance, and they all have Pokemon that aren't also weak to electricity, so I'll probably get more mileage out of that move than I originally thought. We'll see. Now it's on to Rival Fivel. I one-shot Pidgeot and Gyarados with Thunderbolt, as you'd probably expect, but not without getting the classic Gen 1 miss and a flinch on Bite for good measure. Growlithe and Alakazam go down without too much of an issue, but Alakazam knows Recover, so it takes a little while. For whatever reason, I thought his last Pokemon was Exeggutor, in which case I wouldn't have had a move that he didn't resist. But hey, welcome to Pokemon, where your rival gets a starter too. Wow! Psybeam is super effective, but it's disabled, so I used the turn to heal up instead. After that, I just needed 2 hits to knock it out. Some famous people who go by their middle names include Christopher Ashton Kutcher, William Bradley Pitt, and James Paul McCartney. This challenge hasn't been too difficult so far. I wonder if Giovanni will pose any sort of difficulty. No, of course not. Geo-freaking-Vonnie. Here's a list of stuff that happens to Adolf Sax in his life leading up to him inventing the saxophone. Fracturing his skull, drinking boric acid, getting a bad case of measles, drinking tainted wine. My god, it's a miracle the saxophone even exists today. Another fun fact, saxophone is one of the instruments I play. In fact, all 3 current members of Me Plays, me, Elias, and Dash, all play saxophone and clarinet. Dash and I are planning to make some videos of us playing video game music on sax, so look forward to that. Next up is Sabrina, and Kadabra absolutely destroys me. Between confusion and spamming Recover, I go down even after converting to a Psychic type. Next attempt and it just spams Recover some more, but eventually I get the crit I need on Thunderbolt to win. Mr. Mime and Venomoth go down fairly easily, and next up is Alakazam. And oh my god, this could not have gone better. It uses Recover at full health, shoutouts to Gen 1 AI, then it misses Psywave, hits an incredibly weak Psywave, and uses Reflect, even though I've only used special moves so far. That's gotta be a fluke of a win, my god. Next, I get the HMs I need for the rest of the game in Fuchsia City, then go after Koga. I one-shot Coughing with Psychic, oh yeah, by the way I learned Psychic, but Muck survives with a Sliver and Koga uses an X attack. That's a really stupid idea because the AI actually picks what they're gonna do that turn right before they do it, instead of at the start of the turn like you do. So Koga knew Muck was gonna die, but gave it a protein shake for the road. The rest of the battle is free, so I won without taking damage. The smallest number that divides evenly into every number between 1 and 10 is 2,520. The next gym leader is Blaine, and after bumbling my way through Pokemon Mansion, I go and fight all the trainers in his gym, because I doubt I'll be at a high enough level for the Elite Four at the rate I'm going otherwise. On to Blaine himself though. I start by converting into a fire type. Blaine uses a super potion, I take it to low health with the Thunderbolt, and Blaine nearly knocks his own Growlithe out from takedown recoil. How has this man not had his gym license revoked? Ponyta just hits me with a stomp, and next is Rapidash. Once again, Blaine uses a super potion when Rapidash is at full health and I take it out easily. Arcanine does literally nothing. I heal up with Recover and start whittling his health down with Psychic. In the 4 turns it takes for me to do so, Blaine uses 2 super potions before I do any damage, then Arcanine uses Roar twice. This is the 7th gym, people. Honestly, I don't think I should bother with a fun fact after a fight like that. Gen 1 Blaine is the worst Pokemon trainer in the universe. That battle would have gone even smoother had I not used Conversion at the start, because despite being the Fire-type gym leader, Blaine didn't use a single Fire-type move that whole fight. Next up is Giovanni though, and I think this is the point in the game where Conversion is going to become a lot less useful compared to Ice Beam. It's super effective against Giovanni's whole team, Bruno's 2 Onyx, Agatha's Golbat, most of Lance's team, and the rivals Pidgeot and Venusaur. Some of them are weak to some of my other moves as well, but we're in the home stretch here, and the Elite Four is right around the corner, so I need as many power points for attacking moves as possible. Hello and welcome to page 7 of my script. This page is sponsored by nothing, because like 50 people are gonna see this video at best. Do you really think Audible or Raid Shadow Legends wants anything to do with me? Anyway, I decided to fight the trainers in Giovanni's gym as well, since they all have a lot of Pokemon, and a lot of Pokemon I can beat pretty easily. This run has honestly been pretty nice so far. It's not nearly as hard as the Diglett challenge. The first 2 gyms took a little bit of grinding to beat, but it's been smooth sailing ever since then. I'm thinking my next challenge is gonna be something like Pokemon Ruby with just a Swablu, or just something in Johto or Hoenn. I think it's about time I play games based in different regions on this channel. On to Giovanni himself. I one-shot his whole team with Ice Beam, not missing a single one despite being sand-attacked by Dugtrio. Honestly, with how easy Blaine and Giovanni usually are, I don't think I should even bother with fun facts whenever I beat them, because them being easy is almost a given as long as you're not weak to their type specialty. The final battle before Victory Road is Rival 6. Pidgeot just uses Whirlwind, which always fails in trainer battles, and I one-shot it with Thunderbolt. Rhydon is a one-shot with Ice Beam, and next up is Gyarados. I get hit by Hydro Pump, but one-shot it since it's 4 times weak to electricity. Growlithe goes down in 2 Thunderbolts, and next up is Alakazam. It uses Psychic a couple times, and I go down, but I was really close to taking it out. 2 tries later, and I get this attempt where Gen 1 AI does Gen 1 AI things, using Reflect 2 turns in a row, even though I've only got special moves, then using Psybeam instead of Psychic. And then I got hit by 2 critical Razor Leaves in a row. God, this fight sucks. A few more tries later, and I managed to freeze Venusaur with Ice Beam. At this point, it's literally impossible for me to lose, since there's no way for Venusaur to thaw out in this game, and it's Elias's last Pokemon. I think I'm gonna have to grind a bit to beat him in the champion battle, though. That's alright. As usual, before beating the Elite Four, I make my way around the Kanto region, collecting as many power point restoring items as I can find. I decide to give the Elite Four a few tries instead of grinding right away, because I'm sure there's still a chance of me winning every fight at this level. Surprisingly, Lorelei's team goes down like it's nothing. The original 3 Musketeers bar had 3 pieces in each package, 1 vanilla, 1 chocolate, and 1 strawberry, but they switched to all chocolate when the other flavors became harder to come by. Next up is Bruno. I one-shot his whole team except for Machamp. We both faint at the same time because he knocks me out with submission, but it counts as a win for me because I forgot to deposit my HM Pokemon. Yeah, I'm gonna call that a reset, be right back. I come back after depositing my other Pokemon and Machamp just misses a fissure, so I win. Next. Next up is Agatha. Her first Pokemon is Gengar, who confuses me and I keep hitting myself, but it wastes its advantage by using Dream Eater while I'm awake, so I'm at half health when Golbat comes out. I get confused again, but I don't hit myself this time, so Golbat goes down easily. Haunter takes big damage from Psychic, then Agatha switches it out in favor of Arbok, which goes down easily. The injured Haunter is back out and I use Ice Beam to take it out to conserve power points. Gengar misses Toxic, so I take it out with 2 more Psychics. The last member of the Elite Four is Lance. First out is Gyarados, and I one-shot it with Thunderbolt, but it outspeeds me and hits a big Hyper Beam first. The rest of his team goes down easily with Ice Beam. Shoutouts to his Dragonite for using Agility instead of actually attacking me. Male mosquitoes don't actually bite anyone, just the female ones. Before taking on the champion Elias, I used the rare candies I collected to level up a little bit more. All jokes about the level I landed on will be ignored. Pidgeot goes down in 2 Thunderbolts, but it uses Wing Attack and Mirror Move, so I take a little bit of damage in the process. Alakazam could have taken me out easily if it had used Psychic a second time, but it seems to have not gotten the memo that I only have special moves and goes for Reflect, then goes for another Reflect. Thankfully, I outspeed Rhydon, so I one-shot it with Ice Beam. And I don't outspeed Gyarados, so I die to Hyper Beam. Alright, let's try again. I get back to Gyarados the very next attempt, and he just goes for Leer. God, some of these movesets are horrible. Arcanine takes me down to a whopping 9 health with Takedown, but last is Venusaur. Unfortunately, it outspeeds me and hits a Solar Beam before we can two-shot it. So close. 4 attempts later and I get back to Venusaur. This time I have more health and it just uses Mega Drain and Growth, so taking it out was really easy. That win puts me in the Hall of Fame, and I was able to do it at level 70. This was a really interesting challenge for me. Not only was it the first time I've ever played through Gen 1, but I was using a Pokemon with a really cool signature move. Conversion came in handy in a handful of fights because of how many types resist themselves. It's unfortunate I didn't have any room for it by the end of the game because of how many Pokemon that late in the game are weak to Ice Beam, but that's alright. So far on this channel, I've done solo challenges with Groudon, Lapras, Diglett, and now Porygon, and I think out of all of these, Porygon was probably the second hardest. Groudon was obviously super easy, Lapras I'd say is second, and Diglett was a pain in the face because of how unbelievably frail it is. Like I said, I think my next challenge is going to be Pokemon Ruby with 1 Swablu, but I'm open to your suggestions. I'm also thinking of doing Pokemon Black with only Universal TMs. We'll see. Subscribe to Me Plays Games for more, and check out our other channels as well, linked in the description. Alright, good night fellas, sleep well.